Hello, this is John Pavall with Access Arts Live. I'm not sure how well you can pick up the music I'm listening to, although some of you might say, John, I don't think that's music. It's Leah Kohl playing from her album Normal Sounds. And in a little bit of time, I'll be telling you about Leah Kohl and the live stream that she'll be doing from the Roulette Intermedium Theater in New York City. We have loads of what I call now chamber music for you this week. Not just new, but now, being invented as it's played. And we also have some very classic chamber music, strings and piano, and for those of you who prefer that kind of music this week. So let's get to it, because there's so much to show you. Here's an image I can show you of what we have coming for you as I go through this week's. There's more than a dozen live streams this week of chamber music alone. I'm telling you, there's more and more. We've been doing this for a year. We have noticed to you over 1,000 live streams in that year. And then the next year, it could easily jump to 2,000. There are so many. Sometimes there are 40 to 45 a week. Well, you multiply that by 50 weeks, and you got 2,000. Anyway, before I go any further, let me remind you, though, if you're watching this on Facebook, please click the like the video button. If you're watching this on any of our other channels, please like, follow, and or subscribe to us on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn, so we can continue to make sure that you get up to or more than 1,000 live links to live performances in the coming year. So having said that, let us move on to the first. There are two live streams coming at you this week. Both of them are, today, both of them are very contemporary live streams. They're both coming out of the United States, and they'll be much later in the evening for those of you who are in Europe. So let's talk about the first of them, the one whose music I was playing for you just a moment ago. Roulette Intermedium Theater live streams a double bill of cellist, sound artist Leah Kohl and top guitarist Shane Parish to play live work from their recent respective album releases. It's a sumptuous combination. The reason I say it's sumptuous, and this will be at 8 in the evening Eastern Daylight Time. Roulette Intermedium is in New York City, and that'll be 2 o'clock in the morning in Europe. If you're really a fan of now music, it's worth staying up for. 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast, and that'll be 10 o'clock. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Anyway, what's so interesting about it is their work is so different. They're both contemporary, but very different. Shane Parish plays solo guitar, and if you look for him on YouTube, this is very pure. This is finger work of different kinds, and what he has done in his album, his 2024 album repertoire, is to come up with his own arrangements of jazz, minimalist, and electronic music by people like Coltrane, John Cage, Aphex Twin, Kraftwerk, Charlie Mingus, Ornette Coleman. So that'll be very pure, just the guitar. And then Leah Kohl comes on, and her latest album, Normal Sounds, she's a cellist, but she also works with, normal sounds and does synthesizer improvisations around them. In other words, the sound of a refrigerator, the beeping of a grocery store, car horns, and those kind of sounds. And then she integrates them with playing the cello. Now, she's not just going to play the album, because this kind of music, what she'll be doing is improvising on the different concepts that the different tracks of the album were. So that's your first one coming up later today, 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time from New York City. But later today, just like I think a half an hour after that, might be a little more than that because we have different time zones that we're dealing with here. Next one comes to you from Chicago. In the evening, today, Tuesday. If you like now music, but not just new, now, then you'll like New Music Chicago's live stream, Tuesday, May 20th, with long-standing avant-garde artist Sarah Plum, playing a range of new music by contemporary composers for solo violin and viola. So this is very pure too. This will be at 7:30 p.m. in Chicago, which is 8:30 in the evening in New York. So it's a half an hour later, 2:30 in the morning here in Europe, 10:30 in the morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Sarah Plum has been around. She was launched into her career back in 1983 when she won the gold medal at the International Stulberg competition, which she mentions in all her bios. She got her music degree at SUNY Stony Brook. She moved to Europe, played with the Kohl Philharmonic, the London Phil, played with a lot of new music ensembles like the Ensemble Moderne, Musique Fabrique, New Ensemble Amsterdam. She, played in concerts of new music at the Luzerne Festival, the Festival Automne in Paris, the Autumn Festival, the Ars Musical in Brussels. And in the last decade or more, she's been touring solo on her own since she started coming up with CDs. She plays at places like the Ankommt Neue Music Festival, at the Berlin Hauptbahnhof, at the Quiet Q Intermedia. This is all in Germany, but also at Stanford University, CCRMA, that's the Center for Computer Research and Music, at Virginia Tech's Institute for Creativity, etc., stuff like that. So, okay, let me tell you quickly, let me wrap this up. What is she going to be playing? She'll be playing Moves and Remains by Tonya Kohl. These are all contemporary authors. For Scordatura Violin. She'll be playing a 5-part piece by Jeffrey Mumford called An Expanding Distance of Multiple Voices, which I think was, that was composed about 20 years ago. Then Asnat Netzer's Olive Cotton for Solo Viola, arranged by Plum. Sidney Corbett's Canticle in Memoriam of David Foster Wallace. Kyung Mi Choi's Flowering Dandelion for violin and fixed electronics. So there you have two right away today, contemporary music live streams to enjoy. I'm very happy about that because I've been feeling I've been neglecting contemporary chamber music recently, and we just have so much of it for you this week. And it continues. It continues on Wednesday. We're not done this week with a March Vivo live stream. Wednesday evening, May 21st in Madrid, March Vivo continues its series Listening to Color with the accomplished pianist and highly creative artist Francesco Tristano, playing works by Bach, Berio, Luria, and by Francesco Tristano. That's 6 o'clock in the evening European time, lunchtime, noon on the East Coast, breakfast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, 2 a.m. down under in Australia. This is a concert about synesthesia, but you're going to ask somebody else what that means. What he's doing is playing the music of various classical composers, accompanied by images of paintings by a Russian painter, but deconstructed in their shapes and colors. So the idea is merging painting and music in a single experience. This whole series by March Vivo has been about doing that. So he's, Tristano plays the piano and came up with the electronics concept, but he has a lighting designer, a video creator, a creative director. And what he's going to do is he'll play a piece by himself, and then he'll play a piece by Bach, the Toccata No. 2 in C minor. Then another piece by Tristano, then Berio's Sequence of 4 for solo piano. Then another piece by Tristano, then Arthur Lorio, then Bach Toccata in D minor, and then another piece by Tristano. So Tristano he's a Juilliard-trained pianist. But he's from Luxembourg, I think. And he's been around a long time. Before he studied at Juilliard, he studied in Luxembourg, Brussels, Riga, and Paris. And he brings together Baroque and contemporary repertoire with electronic music. And I keep noticing that the people interested in early music are also interested in contemporary music, and then they put them together. Anyway, he has 25 albums out. So if you want to know more about him, well, look him up and you find his 25 albums. Okay, let's move on to the next. There's so much of this week. It's really great. And we have another one after Tristano. Roulette Intermedium Theater is back on Wednesday, May 21st, live streaming Yarn Wire's performance of commissioned works, including 2 world premieres by composers Ashkan Benzadi and Carrie Watson. That'll be at 8 o'clock in the evening in New York, which is where Intermedium is located, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 in the morning here in Europe, and 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. Well, the next morning anyway, the Thursday morning, down under in Australia. Yarn Wire was started about 12 years ago, in 2013, specifically to commission new works for its members to play. And so it serves as an incubator for a wide range of musicians and artists and for different kinds of music. There are 4 members of it. Laura Barger on piano, Julia Dane Boer also on piano, Russell Greenberg on percussion, and Dennis Sullivan on percussion. So that's an interesting formation. This group is they're doing residencies this year at Harvard, Columbia, and the University of Miami. Okay, and they'll be appearing at the Venice Biennale, the Other Minds Festival in San Francisco, the Manifest Festival in Paris, etc. And they've recorded for a long list of different recording labels. So there you have it again. I think that's 4 live streams of very highly contemporary music to start off your weekend. It makes up for my having talked about contemporary music so little. But if none of that is what turns you on, wow. We move on to Thursday. Sweet classical music. Thursday, May 22nd, violinist Eva Zavaro and pianist Simone Tavoni played Simonovsky, Zavaro, Mendelssohn, and César Franck at St. Mary Perivale's usual high-quality weekly recital. That'll be at the usual time, which is 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Europe, 9 in the morning on the East Coast, 6 in the morning on the West Coast, and 11 p.m. down under in Australia. It's Simonovsky's Violin Sonata in D minor, Eva Zavaro's own composition. It's very brief, 6 minutes, called Spiral. She's Franco-Polish, her origin. Mendelssohn's Fantasia on the Last Rose of Summer, Opus 15 for solo piano, and César Franck's Violin Sonata in A. As I mentioned, Zavaro is from a Franco-Polish family. She's about 30 years old. Studied at the Conservatoire in Paris, then also studied in Munich. She had her first appearance as a soloist with the London Symphony Orchestra at the Salle Pleyel in Paris at the age of 14. And Simone Alessandro Tavoni, he did his studies in Italy, in La Spezia and Florence, and then moved to England to study at the Royal College of Music, where he got his degree, his advanced diploma, I think in 2018. So he's played around in different places. So if you want very classic music, there you have it, Thursday afternoon, European time. You know, all these live streams I've been telling you about are free of charge on top of it, I think. Oh, wait, Constellation Chicago is what they ask you to pay $10.56. I mentioned when people want you to pay in the links that we provide. Okay. Thursday, May 22nd, Gotham Early Music Scene's Midtown Concerts features the harpsichord duo Elliot Figg and Caitlin Koester playing their show Skeletons of the Opera, bringing to life old and new transcriptions of early and Baroque opera works. Once again, it's this bringing together of interest in new music and the very old music. And Midtown Concerts, I always sing their praises because they always bring in very expert people for interesting concerts. Even if you don't like a particular concert, you can't deny that the people doing it are expert. This will be at their usual 1:15 in the afternoon New York City time, which is 10:15 in the morning on the West Coast, and 7:15 in the evening here in Europe. This is harpsichords. And what they have gathered together are, well, I'll tell you what they're going to be playing. They have only been playing together for about 5 years. They ran into each other, two harpsichord players, and they fall, they just fall artistically in love with each other anyway. And they really didn't start doing concerts until a couple of years ago, thanks to the Gotham early music scene and the Berkshire Bach Society. So today what they'll be doing, I think, well, look, the last time they played a concert that was called Skeletons of the Opera, here's what they played. Henry Purcell's Dido and Aeneas, Handel's opera overtures, Jacques de la Guerre selections, and selections also from Jean-Baptiste Lully, transcribed by D'Angleterre. So there's a good possibility that one or more of these will be played in their concert on Thursday afternoon in New York City, because it has the same title, Skeletons of the Opera, but it's also possible that they'll modify it for this presentation. In any event, if you're an early music lover, and I know some people react when I include Baroque music as early, but the Gotham early music scene considers Baroque to be early music. So there, enjoy. Another free concert. And we're moving on from that to even more Baroque. We're moving on to Bach and Bach and Bach and Bach. And all I have to show for it is the picture of the Roman Catholic Cathedral in Moscow, where it will be happening. Friday, May 23rd, Artbene live streams an all-Bach concert at the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow with organ, chamber orchestra, voice, violin, and saxophone to celebrate the continued celebration of the 340th anniversary of Johann Sebastian Bach. Yes, I know. I just said celebrate the celebration. I get it. Anyway, that's at 8 o'clock European time, 2 o'clock on the East Coast, 11 in the morning on the West Coast. It'll be at 9 in the evening in Moscow there. There's a chamber orchestra. There's a soprano, organist, saxophonist. They'll do Bach's Symphony to Cantata number 209. In Bach's time, symphony did not mean a full-scale symphony. It meant an instrumental part of something else, like of a cantata when they just went to instruments. A soprano aria from his Bach St. Matthew's Passion, another symphony from cantata number 156, the Passacaglia in G minor, BWV 582, and they'll finish up with the violin version of the Concerto for Keyboard and Orchestra in D minor. So that's if you want more early music, Bach, 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 you can get that on Friday. We then move on to, we get on to the weekend, and March Vivo is always active both on Saturday and Sunday with a live stream. So we will have that to talk about. If I can find the appropriate photo to show you. Yeah, and that's this. Wow. They're doing a series. March Vivo. Well, they always do series. This is another one. March Vivo is back live streaming Saturday noon in Madrid, May 24th, with Leonor Leal and her company performing flamenco, and more flamenco in Moon That Breaks, part of a continuing series on flamenco from March Vivo, which is an offshoot of the Fundación Juan March in Madrid. That's at noon, as their weekend live streams always are in Europe, 6 in the morning on the East Coast, 3 o'clock late Friday night on the West Coast, and 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The show is inspired by some verses from Noche de Ronda by Agustín Lara, which are Luna que se quiebra sobre la tiniebla de mi soledad. The moon that breaks over the darkness of my solitude. And it's an imagined moonlit night in an Andalusian courtyard under with full of memories. And there's a picture. The picture I show you there is Leonor Leal with her percussionist, Antonio Morena. She works with a percussionist. She will also they'll also be singing by Maria Marin, and guitar and singing by Salvador Gutierrez. If you think that, and she's worked with all of these people, these are her confederates. If you think that flamenco is only frantic movement, it's not. I enjoyed last week's live stream, and there was such poignant, sensitive moments in it. I was, I don't know about flamenco. I thought it would be all this, hot passion stuff. There was a lot more to it. So it was lovely. And so I think if you love flamenco, or if you want to find out about it, this one is a great way to do so. And we're still moving along through this weekend. So many, as I said, there were more than a dozen live streams this weekend to tell you about. Now, this next one, I just want to talk about for a moment, because I already talked about it in our organ recital roundup. If you like The Little Prince by Saint-Exupéry, you may really enjoy it even more with organ, oboe, spoken word, and sand animation as performed in live stream from the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow this Saturday, May 24th at noon European time. So that'll be at the same time as the March Vivo Flamenco. So good luck making that choice. But anyway, they do this kind of thing all the time. And the sand animation, I show you there in the photo, Lydia Miller, who does the sand animation. It's so charming. She'll be doing one scene after another while an actress, a Russian actress, will be telling the story of the Little Prince, and the organ and the oboe will be accompanying it. The thing will start out with Bach's aria from the suite in B minor, and it will end with the same piece. And in between, there'll be pieces by Grieg, Norwegian Dance, Serenade by Schubert, Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee. It's a good time. If you're in Europe, and it's a good time when you can show it to children, I just think it's the kind of thing children will love. And then we move on from that. There's yet another one, the farthest thing possible from The Little Prince, something very wild from Constellation Chicago. Saturday evening in Chicago, May 24th, Constellation Chicago live streams a tribute to composer Mars Williams in a performance of the musical portion of his work, The Devil's Whistle, by a full-scale ensemble of Chicago artists. Mars Williams would have been 70 years old and didn't make it, so they're doing this tribute to him, to launch a Mars Williams archive. It'll be at 8:30 in the evening, Chicago time, 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast, 3:30 in the morning here in Europe, I think. No, we're 6 hours ahead. Well, yeah, we're 6 hours ahead. And 11:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time, if you're up for that. The Devil's Whistle, there's a picture from when it was put on fully. And they're just doing the musical part. Mars Williams was a legend in the Chicago music scene for a long time. This was a show that he staged in New Orleans in the spring of 2022 with dozens of musicians and dancers. There'll be a cornet, trombone, reeds, 2 saxophones, a couple of violins, guitar, 2 cellos, a bass, and 2 drummers. So this will be raising the roof. Even so, and all the proceeds will go to benefit the Mars Williams Archive at this place called the Experimental Sound Studio in Chicago, which is a big deal. It does cost. You can tune into it for free on YouTube, but they do ask you to give you a link, and we give it to you too, where you can pay $10.36 for the pleasure of watching it. And that $10.36 will go to the Mars Williams Archive at the Experimental Sound Studio. We still have 2 more live streams to tell you about. I mean, this is just a gift that keeps on going this week. This is going to turn into one of those half-hour live streams on my part. I don't know how I could have been more brief about anybody that I talked about, though. So let's go on to the, I think the next, I think there's 3 more, actually. Sunday noon in Madrid, March Vivo live streams the youthful Barhoff Ensemble, playing very classic works by Monteverdi, Dufay, and Joaquin Desprez, interspersed with commissioned contemporary works by composer Jordi Nornudella. Yeah. That's at noon in Europe, 6 in the morning on the East Coast, 3 in the morning on the West Coast, and 8 in the evening in Australia. The Barhoff Ensemble was formed by students coming out of the National Youth Orchestra of Catalonia about 6 years ago. And they go around commissioning and premiering new music by people like Jordi Cornudella. So, they'll do a piece by Cornudella, and then they'll do a piece by Monteverdi, and then another Cornudella, and then an anonymous piece from the Codex Bamberg, and then Dufay, and etc. And Josquin des Prés, and then another piece by Cornudella. So that's what that will be. They're young, they're enthusiastic, and what are they doing? They're bringing together, again, very early music and new compositions. This is what's happening in contemporary classical music now, bringing together the very early and the completely new or now. Wow. 2 more. And I have photos for both of them. Next one. Now, if you want to get back to something which is just very classic, please, John, you call this chamber music. I'm here for chamber music. Well, here it is. The Cygnus Piano Trio visits St. Mary's, Perivale, London, this coming Sunday afternoon, May 25th, for a live stream playing Spanish composer Joaquin Turina and Beethoven. And that is an interesting pairing. This is at 4 o'clock, the usual time, 4 o'clock European time, 10 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, 7 on the West Coast, 1 o'clock a.m. down under in Australia. This trio, they're playing Turina's Piano Trio in B minor, and then Beethoven's Piano Trio in B flat, the Archduke Piano Trio. Now, these are 3 former students from the Royal Academy of Music who've been playing together for 12 years. And they also got a lot, once they came together, they got a lot of specialized training and master classes and mentoring by other string quartets. The reason it's interesting is Joaquin Turina, I don't know if you know him, but he was early 20th century. He was hanging out in Paris with the group of people like Albanese, Defal, Claude Debussy, Maurice Ravel, although it was closer with the Spaniards than with the French Impressionists. And yet, even though he was in Paris, people like Albanese and Falla were urging him to bring the Spanish musical tradition into his compositions, and so that's what he did. So what you're going to hear is music which is a mix of French Impressionism and Spanish national music. There was a big Spanish national movement going on at that time, for those of you who despise nationalism. But anyway, and then they're playing Beethoven, which is the German early 19th century. So very interesting pairing, and I hope you enjoy it. It will be high quality. St. Mary's Perivale never fails to deliver that. And now we're down to the very last, which I am numbering as number 14 because I'm horribly superstitious. And now we're back to something contemporary again. Constellation Chicago is back for the second time this week, Sunday evening, May 25th, live streaming the clarinet piano duo Riso, playing works by Chicago contemporary composers Ben Zucker, Alexa Rin, Carlos Zarate, and the Montreal-based composer Jonas Renier. That's at 8:30 in the evening, again, Chicago time, 9:30 on the East Coast, 3:30 in the morning here in Europe, 11:30 in the morning, Monday morning down under in Australia. Duo Riso is only a couple of years old, 2023, Evan Kopka on clarinet and Zaira Castillo decided to get together and play together and explore the possibilities of clarinet and piano. They took their name from riso. They took the word riso from the Latin word for laughter. I studied Latin and Greek. I don't remember riso meaning laughter, but I have no reason to doubt them. In French, it's ri, which is, French is very Latin based, so that's ri something. They're going to be playing. We don't have more specifics than that they're playing clarinet piano duos, and they like to incorporate unconventional tools like guitar slides, picks, electronics, and guided improvisation. And the program will include an installation, which I think is a sculpture installation created by Chicago visual artist Kristina Sadovnikov, which sounds more like a Russian creative artist. But anyway, that is supposed to interact with the music that they're playing and create what is called an interdisciplinary artistic experience. So, wow, what can I say? I think half of this week's offerings turned out to be contemporary music, and I'm over 30 minutes, and I'm trying to give myself a 25-minute limit, so I do have to check out. I hope that one more or some or any of these inspire you, uplift you, or just show you a really good time. And I find it hard to believe that not any of them would. I mean, some of this has got to be a turn on for you. With that, let me remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching on any of our other platforms, please follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and or LinkedIn. And with that, I'll be signing off for this week. I may be back on Friday for weekend highlights at about this same time, 6 or 6:30 in the evening. If I don't make it, enjoy all these live streams. Ciao.